Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear the latest on plans for a streetcar in Tempe. And we'll learn about an art exhibit focusing on 2 endangered species found in the state. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A revised plan for a proposed streetcar in Tempe was unveiled this week. The update includes new stops and an expanded route. Here with more is Tempe City Council member Shanna Ellis. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Let's talk about now what was decided, or at least considered, or at least talked about Monday night.
Okay, well, I think the last time that I was here, we talked about the 2 proposed routes. We called one a C and one an L based on their location. And we had a lot of public meetings, got a lot of input from residents and businesses. And in typical Tempe fashion, we decided to go big and we combined the 2 routes, and we're recommending both of them.
Okay, so I think we have a map now that will not only show the routes, but will also show some of the stops here. The stops, first of all, the blue is the route, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so where are we starting, where are we ending?
Well, if you look at the top of the map, Marina Heights, which is also known as the State Farm Development. So the streetcar will go down Rio Salado and go by Hayden Ferry, and then will continue down to Ash Avenue. It goes counterclockwise, so it will then go south on Ash, it will go east on University, and it will go north on Mill to kind of make a counterclockwise loop. But it will also go south and go around Gamage Auditorium and through a lot of the ASU campus and development.
Okay, now has there been concern that the streetcar, as we see going around Mill, you can see the Apache, you see where Gamage is right there. Is it going to take away from some of the beauty of Gamage sitting there?
I don't believe so. I think historically streetcars have been in the fabric of the United States for a very long time, and we're working very closely with ASU to make sure that we preserve the architectural integrity of all of the areas.
Okay, now as far as the route, again, it doesn't look, you mentioned it goes and stops at the State Farm area. Why does it not go further east?
Well, it's about funding.
Okay.
And it's also about a lot of the environmental assessments that we've done. This is a regional project, and it will be run by Metro, which runs our rail project also. But there is a little bit of more expense once you head down Rio Salado, but we hope that that will be a future route, an add-on to the streetcar route. Yes.
Okay, that map now, as we're looking at it, the black dots, are those are streetcar stops that have been added, correct?
Correct. So the yellow dots were stops that have already been through quite a public process, and the black dots are what is being rolled out to the public. We had a public meeting on Monday evening, and the City Council will be deciding on these stops on January 8th, and will recommend those stops or different stops to the Metro Board of Directors.
And as far as the Hayden Ferry and Marina Heights stop, that's really only 2 down there. Was there thought for maybe more, or what was the decision there?
Well, the more stops you add, the longer it will take the streetcar to get from end to end. So it seemed that these stops were spaced where people would be easily able to get off and on.
Okay. Cost for all this, what are we looking at?
Well, it's estimated that this combined route will cost about $190 million. But some of that money is already procured, it's already set aside. So there's $32 million in CMAQ money, which is congestion mitigation and air quality money. It's federal money. Okay. There's also regional money from the Prop 400 tax that's been set aside, over $40 million from that tax. And we're doing all of this because the Metro organization will be submitting an application for federal funding for next year for an additional $75 million through their Small Starts program, through the FTA.
So most of the federal funding then has been procured. It's that $75 million that still needs to be...
Right, and even after that, there is a delta. There's still about $30 million that the region will need to come up with. But Again, these costs are just estimates. A lot of the environmental studies have not been done yet, and we'll really be able to then nail down what those costs will be.
Okay, so let's talk about the streetcar that is being used. What kind of streetcar, and is this something that is similar to what we're seeing now in light rail cars?
Well, yes and no. And part of the public process that we're going through is talking about potential streetcars. A few years ago, you really didn't have much of a choice of what your streetcar would look like. But now there's quite a few companies out there, because there's funding available, that have streetcars. The streetcars that you see now in Tucson and in Portland are much smaller than a light rail vehicle. The light rail vehicles that we have right now in Phoenix are over 90 feet long, and the streetcars that you see are typically between 68 and 75 feet.
Interesting.
So they're a lot smaller.
And these are battered. Now, obviously, we're seeing lines overhead on some of the shots we're looking at right now. Will we see lines overhead in Tempe? Will we see battery-powered car? What are we going to see?
Well, that's part of the discussion. Technology is evolving even as we speak. We would prefer to have battery operated in the downtown area due to our tree canopy and kind of the character of the downtown area. But if that technology is not available at the point in time when the streetcars need to be ordered, then we may have to look at overhead lines through the area.
That's an interesting point. If you do look at overhead lines, I know that the ficus trees in downtown Tempe are pretty well known.
Right.
To grackles, at least, if not to human beings. But I mean, where will the streetcar be? In the middle, on the side, where we're seeing bike lanes now? Where?
It will actually share the lane of traffic. So there will be cars in front of the streetcar and behind the streetcar. So it's not a dedicated lane. And as far as the tree canopies go, there are quite a few communities that have streetcars that have tree canopies very similar to ours, and it seems to interact just fine with the overhead lines.
Something that is a problem in terms of interaction is businesses, and we've seen this with light rail, and they're very concerned regarding construction. What kind of impact do you see construction having on the businesses in especially downtown Tempe?
Right, and that is a concern, and it has been a concern for light rail, but the construction for a streetcar is much different than a light rail. Mainly because the stops don't need to be created the same. The stops look more like a bus stop than a light rail stop, and they will share a lane of traffic. We will need to do, some construction and temporarily shut down those lanes, but it will not be the construction that we saw with light rail. And even with light rail, a lot of those businesses there, both Valley Metro and the cities that light rail have had construction, have done a lot of hand-holding with the businesses and allowed them additional signage and that type of thing so that people could easily get to and from their businesses. But I will say the businesses along the route have been overwhelmingly supportive of the streetcar.
Okay, so we got 107, 195, whatever it is, $1 million here. We've got going to be digging up some ground and all this kind of.
Yeah.
Why is this so important to Tempe? And addendum to the question, you mentioned kind of hoping for battery-powered cars, and the stops kind of look like bus stops. Battery-powered cars with bus stop kind of stops sounds like a bus system to me. Why not a bus system?
Well, that's a very good question. We get asked that all the time. Once the track is laid, a lot of economic development follows. We have really seen that with our light rail line. A $1.4 billion investment so far has generated about $7 billion in return. With a bus stop, you can easily move it at any point in time. And so in many instances, including Tucson, our most recent streetcar that we've seen, there's a lot of investment that goes on the moment that you announce that you will have a streetcar in the area. And I will say that in talking with a lot of the businesses that have chosen to build and to locate in downtown, one of the reasons that they choose it is because of the transportation system and the streetcar.
So there's more of a permanence there. You know it's not going to be moved. It's going to be there for quite a while.
Right.
All right, timetable. What are we looking at?
Well, as I stated earlier, we will be submitting an application to the FTA next fall, and then we hope to hear by early 2016, and construction could start in early 2016 as soon as we get word. And We predict that opening day will be in 2018.
2018. Still, full council still needs to look at this. Is that true, or has that been a done deal?
Well, the council will look at it again on January 8th, and it's been to our city council quite a few times over the last few years to decide certain components. So the idea of a streetcar, that has already been decided by resolution by the council and by the public and businesses and all the input that we've received. So what we're talking about now are just some of the additions, the additional stop, what kind of propulsion will be used, and that type of thing. So a lot of the smaller decisions that need to be made. But as far as the streetcar itself, there's overwhelmingly support for that.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to jumping on 2018, huh? No sooner than that.
It'll be here before you know it.
All right. I'll take your word for that. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tonight's edition of Arizona Art Beat looks at an exhibit titled Trout Fishing in America and Other Stories. The installation at ASU's Art Museum is based on scientific research focused on two endangered species found in Arizona, the humpback chub and the California condor. ASU professor Ron Berlio is the exhibit's co-curator, and he joins us now. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Trout Fishing in America and Other Stories. What exactly is going on here?
So what's happened is it's a research-based type of art where we've invited some artists. I got a grant through the Global Institute of Sustainability at ASU. And the idea was to look at rhetorics of sustainability. How do scientists talk about sustainability, and how does the public think about it? And we invited some artists in to visualize the contrasts in the way that scientists and the public think about sustainable environments. And so these artists chose the humpback chub and the California condor as exemplars for rhetorics and problems within sustainability.
What is a humpback chub?
Good question. That's a good start question. So the humpback chub is a native fish in Arizona, and it has a distinctly humped back because of during the monsoons, when the water comes through the Colorado River, it's native to the Colorado River, it's able to navigate the rush of water that comes through.
Okay, and so humpback chub found mostly in western Arizona, nowhere else?
Right in the Grand Canyon area, and that's it.
Okay, that part of the Colorado. Right. Okay, as far as the California condor, I think we know what they are, but to give us a better definition.
So the California condor in the 1970s, interestingly, well, first of all, they're the bird with the largest wingspan in North America, so 9.5-foot wingspan, really large animal. And they're a scavenger bird. Interestingly, in 1970s, there were only 22 left. And then they were captured and through a captive breeding program, brought back from almost extinction. And now there are about 250 in captivity and 246 approximately in the wild.
And where are they found in Arizona?
So in Arizona, they're at the Vermilion Cliffs. So we have some wonderful shots and video of the Vermilion Cliffs and them just soaring along the cliffs and gliding.
And the Vermilion Cliffs are in?
Northern Arizona.
Okay.
So
all right, so these are basically a couple of northern Arizona endangered species, and they seem to be doing better these days?
The California condor is doing quite well. It has a real comeback, and the humpback chub, they're slowly working on it, but it's bringing back from serious endangerment.
So this art exhibit now seems to blend art with research on these endangered species. Talk to us about that, the dynamic involved.
Right, so what was interesting is bringing in, we have Mark Wilson from England and Brynda Schneeberstadter from Iceland. So an outsider's perspective, coming in and looking at the terrain. They're international artists, very well known, and they partnered with field biologists. So there was a trust level there. The scientists had to trust the artist had to trust the scientists, and they went. The artist went into the field and worked side by side with the scientists and saw how the scientists were collecting data. And the goal here was to move from data-based research that the scientists are doing to something that tells a story and is affective, so that the public feels a relationship to the work.
So these researchers we're looking at now, and I'm sure there's an artist in there one way or another, kind of watching what they're doing. The artist goes back and then from the experience of that research, a photograph, lithograph, a painting, something, a sculpture, something along those lines?
Right. So what happens is this took 2 years to develop. And so a week or two in the Grand Canyon, a week or two in the Vermilion Cliffs, a lot of dialogue, a lot of rumination. And then mainly it's a video pieces and photography, and then a wall mount of different species from the Grand Canyon. But for example, with the photographs, we have some California condor who, because they're endangered, whenever they die, they're autopsied.
Yes.
And those autopsies bodies are frozen and kept at U of A in Tucson. Went down there with a field biologist who pulled out these animals, and we were photographing them, and he began telling stories about each one. He had this real engaged affective relationship. So they weren't just data.
Right.
They were actual animals with stories. And so we include the animal and its story, and you begin to develop a relationship with this animal that otherwise is hundreds of miles away.
Now, sometimes artists can get, I don't know, in trouble, but it becomes problematic when an artist tries to tell you something or tries to teach you something instead of just being an artist and expressing themselves and kind of letting the art land where it mays. Are we being taught something here, or how does this work?
So this was really carefully done in a way that is not too pedantic, not too heavy-handed. They try to be really neutral on any issues involving each of these animals. So instead what you're getting is a really careful, descriptive commentary of this is what this animal's like, this is its habitat, this is what the scientists are saying. And there's some video of a scientist describing his project, and then a philosopher talking about his understanding of the same project. And so you see these sort of conversations in different languages develop.
Interesting, interesting.
Right.
Cultural perceptions of nature. How does that play into all this?
You know, it's interesting. We think of the Grand Canyon as wild, but it's a park, and it's a managed park. So what we begin to understand is that now the Game and Fish, Arizona Game and Fish also contributed to this exhibition. And in talking with them, one of the things you find out is the most important thing to manage in the wilderness is the human beings, right? So we begin to understand that what we see as wild landscape is actually a managed landscape. So the humpback chub, where it lives, where it dwells in the Colorado River, is actually managed by the field researchers, by the biologists. And where the trout's allowed to go within the Colorado is also managed by them. So we think of the Colorado as a wild river, but it's actually a very managed space.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so what kind of reaction have you had from the researchers, from the artists, from the public?
So far, the researchers are really intrigued. It's always a gamble, right? What are these artists going to do with our work? But they, again, going back to it not being pedantic or heavy-handed, they feel that it was really well documented, and that it tells stories of what they're doing without leaning one way or the other. So it's open to public interpretation. And so for the public, it's been moments of curiosity, let's say, as they begin to investigate and try to figure out what's going on here, what's happening with this animal. And I've got to say the two pieces that have made the most impact have been the condors, because you hear these incredible stories of their lives and deaths. And then also the wall that lists all of the species in the Grand Canyon. And it's this just massive wall that looks like this vertical slice of the canyon itself.
Well, it sounds extremely interesting and provocative in a different kind of a way. Congratulations on this, and thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. The governor-elect names a former Speaker of the House as Chief of Staff, and the latest in the recount in Congressional District 2 between apparent winner Martha McSally and incumbent Ron Barber. That's Friday on the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.